Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Isabel, and in today's session we will address feeling depressed, feeling lonely, and work on alleviating that to whichever degree we can. This will be an instructive healing session, so we'll be instructing our systems, and we'll release whatever we're ready to release, and work with whatever we're ready to work with, whatever applies to us. So all you want to do is relax. You can lay down, you can sit down, whatever feels most comfortable to you. And let's get started. So get settled, however that looks like. Maybe you want to pause the video. And then if you're ready, when you're ready, close your eyes and let's get started. Okay, so just start by taking a few deep breaths. Just to settle down, to arrive. Just do that at your own pace. And make it belly breath. So really breathe into the belly. And start following your breath there. So drop into your body, following your breath. And notice if there's any sensations anywhere. And if there's any tightness, any numbness, tension, whatever it is, just breathe into it. And relax while breathing out. And then return to your breath. And try to stay with that as best as you can. Like, try not to go into the mind, not think about anything. Staying in your body as much as possible. And we'll get started. Okay, we'll start off by clearing on dissociation. So any ways that we dissociate. Any mechanisms of dissociating. And also ways of detaching, like detaching from how we feel. I want to resolve that. which that is a form of self-abandonment. So let's address that too. Ways of abandoning ourselves. Any ways that shows up. Okay, let's also work on any ways that we make ourselves wrong for how we feel. Like scolding oneself for that. And let's dissolve a sense of something's wrong with me. And something's wrong with me for feeling this way. The self-shaming that goes with that. And we want to clear on mental looping. So negative mental looping, like negative self-talk. Cut that out. And there's a fear of not getting out of that. So we want to address that as well, like a fear of drowning in that heaviness, if you will. And that's clear on that heaviness itself too. We're still working on that. Okay, also hopelessness, feeling hopeless. And despair, feeling despair. Okay. Mm, and underneath that is grief. So unprocessed grief. I want to address that. And alleviate that to whatever degree we can. I'm still working on that. And also pain from loss. Like having lost someone, and that can be some of that transition, but it can also be like losing a relationship of any kind, like losing like a parent leaving, for example, but really anything, any way that applies. And with that, also want to release the fear of loss or the fear of losing. Yeah, that fear feels quite intense. Like I actually feel that as like a spinning in the head even. And also the fear of your abandonment, being abandoned in relationships. I want to release those fears because what they'll do is they'll like even, keep us from having really close relationships. Like they lead to like self-isolation and or like even when you're in a relationship or any kind of relationship, then you're not getting involved really to begin with. And let's also resolve any conclusions that we have drawn from that, like either from loss or from being abandoned or feeling abandoned. Anything that we've made that mean, anything that we've concluded from that. Let's resolve that. Conclusions about life, conclusions about people, conclusions about ourselves. And sometimes that can result in apathy, that lack of interest. So we're clear there. And that senselessness, like nothing makes sense. So what's the point? And the resignation coming from that. Resignation in the sense of giving up. Want to resolve or dissolve that. And sadness. Okay, so let's clear on the following phrases. And they don't have to make sense right now. It's just something that can be stored. And there's an emotional charge to it. So let's just clear on them. So the first one is, I don't matter. And then no one loves me. I'll clear on that. And no one cares about me. Okay. And then we'll clear on feeling not enough. Not even not good enough, just not enough. I want to dissolve that. And also feeling redundant. Like of no need, like needless, useless. And feeling non-existent. And that might or might not make sense. That actually feels like a bigger one. Feeling non-existent. So I want to dissolve that. Okay, and there's also a feeling of not belonging. So that's clear there, like a lack of belonging. And feeling alone. Let's include that as well. I'm still addressing that. Okay, let's bring in the energy of shelter. Let's tap into that. Increase, amplify that. And also the energy of tenderness. Let's bring in tenderness. And comfort. Let's bring that in as well. Okay, so we'll let that sink in for a few minutes, like letting all of that integrate. Still addressing something silently here, but already starting that integration process. a little bit longer. Okay, so just take a deep breath. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. If you want, you can also leave them closed if you want. Yeah, as always, you can come back to this if you feel called to do so. And also keep in mind, like, these processes, they're still integrating, and they're still working on us. So maybe sometimes we feel like a little bit unstable after or the next day, emotions coming up. So just try not to do anything with it. Like, don't make it mean anything. Don't spin a story around it. Just let it come up. Just be aware of it. Yeah, and then a few things, I want to say on this. Well, first of all, if we're working on something like this, I mean, any topic really, right? Depending on how deep that goes, it takes a bit of time, or taking time to address that, to actually really dissolve it or alleviate it. And then over time it builds. Over time it feels lighter. But it usually doesn't come just from one time addressing that, especially not if it's something that we've dealt with for a long time, right? Yeah, and I mean, like, I've experienced this, especially when I was a teenager. I mean, not to the point where I thought of taking my life, but I did hope of not waking up and not that senselessness, and like, what's the point of like even getting up. And it wasn't like that anymore after that, but still there were like spouts of it, like days or phases when it would come up, that dullness, and that nothing makes sense, or that feeling like nothing matters. And then once I started addressing that, it would just feel lighter over time, lighter and lighter, until there was just sometimes in the morning it would be that dullness again. But at some point then it just didn't show up anymore. So the last time I experienced that, or also that sense of loneliness, was like maybe 1.5 or 2 years ago. So again, depending on how deep that goes, right? So but I'm saying all this just to show you that it can and does get better, and that we actually don't have to carry it anymore eventually at all, right? Now, that being said, this might be a really big one for you, and for me, really, I don't know if you've seen the session we did on fear. which that wasn't a bigger one for me. So that being said, like, I don't experience, that intense fear anymore, and not experiencing the panic attacks anymore and all that. But I will say that my nervous system, for example, will still be easier amped up than somebody who hasn't had that experience, right? And these two, they often go a little bit hand in hand. So we experience one more often, but then the other one can show up as well. And for you, this one might be a bigger one. So yeah, and then it might take a little bit longer to address that, right? But we do need to address it, and that's the thing. I mean, we can't really talk ourselves out of that, because it's stagnant energy, it's stuck emotional energy, and it's actually stored in the body consciousness. So we need to resolve that, because yes, we can override beliefs, for example, but that's not actually resolving that emotional charge. So just rationalizing our way out of it doesn't really help with that experience, and it's not gonna resolve it, because you'll still have, you can talk yourself out and then feel really good, but then you're gonna drop, right? Whereas when you actually address it, then it's like you're establishing a different baseline, if you will. Over time, it doesn't show up anymore. Over time, when you drop, it's not going to be that low anymore. And then eventually it just doesn't show up in that way anymore. So we naturally raise that vibration, if you will. And I'm saying this because especially in in the spiritual community, a lot of times we just talk about like feeling good and all of that, right? And raising our frequency, raising our vibration, and all that is great. But again, we also want to address what's underneath. So it's really not there anymore. There's no landing space for it anymore, because it's not there. And we actually feel lighter. We integrate more light. And then even, sometimes that spiritual perspective on things, when we say, okay, it's not real anyway, right? It's just a dream. Yeah, of course, it's just a dream. And looking at the level of personality self, we have that dream within the dream. And all that is great, but just that information is not really helping with the experience in the moment. So yeah, we want to address that. And one more thing, also, because that came up in between, like feeling powerless. That's also like, it's just something that we addressed, like in the end, when I said we're addressing something silently. And I want to relate that to what we're doing here, energy healing. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like it's important to address this, because in any modality, any healing modality, really, not just energy healing, any healing modality, we want to be aware that it's not something that is done to us. It's not somebody that's doing something to us. It's us shifting us. It's always within. That change always happens within. So it's not me doing anything. It's not me anyway, right? Because we're just facilitating, really. We're always working with source, always working with divine creator. But it's not me shifting you, it's you shifting within. So you're always in charge. You're always in power, if you will. And also, I mean, really, there's nothing to heal to begin with. And there's nothing to be fixed to begin with. And if you know my channel, then you've heard me say this probably a million times, right? That natural state, like that essence, that's already whole, right? There's nothing to be fixed there. So what we're doing really is just releasing those overlays, releasing those distortions, releasing what we carry. And on that note, one of my teachers, he often said, and probably still says, that it's not about what we experienced, it's not about what we did and let's just face that, right? Because a lot of us, all of us, or most of us, we've all done things that were pretty shitty, right? And if you don't like the word shitty, then we can say things that we felt regret around, or guilt around, shame around, whatever it is, things that were out of integrity. But it's not about that. It's not about what we experience. It's about what we carry right now, like in this moment, because the past doesn't exist. So it's only about what we carry in the here and now. And the good news is that we can actually dissolve that, and we don't have to carry it anymore. Okay. Anything else? No, I think that, yeah, we can actually bring it to an end now. It's already been long enough, I guess. Well, just one more thing. So if I felt called to do this, especially now with the holidays, because that can be like a time where people feel this more intensely. And if you do, if you don't feel good and you actually feel like you need connection, those are often the moments where we think we can't reach out to people. Like, we always think we have to feel good first, and then we can, call that friend, or I don't know, ask for help, visit someone, whatever it is. But it's not true. It's not true. You can always reach out. And if there's no one to reach out to, well, reach out to me. That might seem like a booby price, but maybe it's better than nothing, and you don't have to do it in the comments section. You can just drop me an email. I'll put the email in the description box. Whether that's to vent, whether that's just to say hi, whatever it is. Yeah, but don't hesitate. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for showing up for yourself and those around you, because, ultimately it benefits them too when you're working on yourself. Yeah. All right. Many blessings to you. Take care.